On June 3rd, 2026, Mercedes Mone walked through the curtain on Dynamite in Richmond, Virginia. The crowd lost their mind. She had been gone from AEW television for 5 months. Her last appearance was December 31st, 2025, when she lost the TBS Championship to Willow Nightingale at New Year's Smash. 5 months of silence. 5 months of questions. Is she coming back? Does she still have the future here? And then the music hits, and the answer was, yeah. She was revealed as a wildcard entry in the Women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. She beat Alex Windsor to advance to the semifinals. The reaction was massive. The moment felt big. And I want to be honest with you right now. The moment is the best thing that is going to happen to Mercedes Mone in AEW this run. Not because she's not talented enough. She's one of the best women's wrestlers alive. Not because the crowd does not care. They clearly do. But because AEW has had 2 years to figure out how to properly use Mercedes Mone. And they still have not done that. And the World Cup tournament entry is not evidence that they finally cracked the code. This is evidence that they had a vacant bracket slot and she was unavailable. Let me tell you why I believe that. And let me use the facts to prove it. Mercedes Mone debuted in AEW in March 2024. She won the TBS Championship at Double or Nothing by beating Willow Nightingale. From that point, she went on the most dominant run any woman has ever been in AEW history. She held the TBS Championship for 584 days, the longest reign ever. She collected championships around the world. At one point, she held 13 titles, simultaneously breaking so many records. The belt collector. She was undefeated in singles competition in AEW for over a year. In May 2025, she won the Women's Owen Hart tournament at Double or Nothing by beating Jamie Hayter in the finals. That earned her an AEW Women's Championship match against Toni Storm at All In 2025. The match was 25 minutes, a 25-minute thriller that many call the best women's match in AEW history. Storm gave Mone her first single loss in AEW. Avalanche Storm Zero from the top rope sealed it. Mone had to be helped to the back after the match. There was a turning point. After All In Texas, the losses started piling up. At World's End, she teamed with Athena to challenge the Babes of Wrath for the Women's World Tag Team titles. They lost when Nightingale pinned Mone. Then, at New Year's Smash on December 31st, 2025, Willow beat her again in a one-on-one to win the TBS Championship. Mone's TBS reign was over at 584 days. She announced she was taking a break from AEW. She went to the independent scene. She lost the Rev Pro British Women's title to Alex Windsor. She lost the WPW Women's title to Jodie Threat. By the time she came back to AEW on June 3rd, she had no championships anywhere in the world. For the first time since arriving in AEW, Mercedes Mone was a challenger with nothing. That is a full picture. Now let me tell you why the picture matters for what happens next. Here's the thing about what Mercedes Mone's first 2 years in AEW are like. The results were impressive. The storylines were hollow. She won the TBS Championship. She held it for 584 days. She collected titles across the world. But at no point did AEW build a genuine long-term character arc around Mercedes Mone. The belt collector was a presentation, not a story. Collecting titles is a vehicle, it's not a destination. The best wrestlers in the world are defined by what they are chasing and why they need it. What does Mercedes Mone need? What is the wound that drives her? What does winning the AEW Women's Championship mean to her specifically? Not in a promo line. In an actual emotional investment the audience can follow and believe. AEW never answered those questions. They gave her wins, they gave her titles, they gave her dominant booking. And when the losses came, the fans were relieved because the dominance had become suffocating. A section of the AEW audience started calling her Mercedes Hogan. Not as a compliment, as a critique of a booking style that protects one performer at the expense of everyone around her. After All In Texas, when Storm handed her first singles loss, there was a real story available. A dominant, undefeated star who gets humbled at the biggest show of the year. What does she do with that? How does she respond? Does it change her? Does it break her? Or does it sharpen her? That is the story, a real one. The kind of story that makes audiences deeply invested in what happens next. AEW has 4 months between All In and New Year's Smash to tell the story. Instead, she continues coasting as a champion. Lost the tag titles with Athena, then lost the TBS title to Willow and took a break. The post-All In Texas period was the most important storytelling window of her AEW career, and AEW used it to run out her title reign and send her home. Now she's back 5 months later. No titles, clear states, and the way AEW brought her back is the clearest signal of whether anything has changed. She came back as a wildcard entry in a tournament bracket. Not with a promo that addresses the 5 months away, not with a moment that told us who she is now versus who she was before. A mystery opponent reveal. Now I understand why AEW did it this way. The surprise pop is real. The crowd reaction was genuine, but here's the problem with surprise returns as a storytelling device. They generate hits in the moment. They do not sustain hits over time. The fans at Richmond reacted because they had not seen her in 5 months and she walked to the curtain. That is a recognition reaction. This is not the same as the audience being invested in a character's journey and needing to see what happens next. The test of how this return was built would come in 3 weeks at Forbidden Door. If Mercedes Mone gets to the Owen Hart 2 final and the crowd is going insane because they're emotionally invested in what she has been through and what this tournament win would mean for her story, that is success. If the crowd reaction is the same as any other big match because there's no deeper story underneath it, that is a failure repeating itself. Right now, 5 days after her return, there has been no promo, no character moment, no acknowledgement of her 5 months away or what she has been through to the independent scene. He beats Alex Windsor in advance. That is not a return story, that is a result. I understand it's still early, we're still going to see, but let me be specific about what worries me about the tournament patch. Mercedes Mone won the Women's Owen Foundation tournament in 2025. She beat Jamie Hayter in the final at Double or Nothing. She earned the Women's World Championship match at All In, Texas. She lost that match to Toni Storm. Now in 2026, she is back in the same tournament. If she wins, she earns a Women's World Championship match at All In London. Do you see the pattern? AEW is running the exact same structural journey a second time. Tournament title shots beat show. The first time it produced one of the best women's matches in AEW history. And the audience reaction when she won the tournament was mixed because they were already tired of her dominance. What happens when you run the same structure without addressing why the first time did not fully connect? The crowd will be invested in the tournament because the tournament is well structured. But if Mone wins, it gets another title shot at All In without a real story arc between now and then. The reaction will be smaller than it was in Texas because the audience has seen this movie. The way to make it different is not to repeat the structure. It's to make the character underneath the structure completely different from the first time. 2025 Mone was undefeated, dominant, and collecting titles everywhere. 26 Mone has lost her streak, lost all her titles, lost the matches that matters the most, and spent 5 months away. That is a different person walking into the same tournament. But AEW has to show us that difference. In promos, in character beats, in how she carries herself differently now. If they just put her in a match and let her win her way to Forbidden Door without exploring that difference, they are wasting the best storytelling material she has ever had. Anyway, before it hit me, I am not writing off Mercedes Mone's 2026 AEW's run. I'm not saying that the window to make it generally great is right now and this is closing fast. Forbidden Door is June 28th. That is 3 weeks away. Before then, AEW needs to give Mercedes Mone at least one genuine character moment. Not a match result, a moment. A promo where she addresses the losses, the 5 months, what it feels like to lose everything she built. Not a defensive promo, not a villain promo, not a human promo. The most vulnerable she has ever been on AEW. That is the thing that separates her 26 run from her 2024 and 2025 run. In 2024 and 2025, she was untouchable. The CEO who could not lose. In 2026, she's a woman who got humbled at the biggest show of the year, lost everything, went away, and came back with nothing to lose. That is a more interesting character than the bell collector. That is a character the audience can root for or against with genuine investment. Women's World Championship at All In London is the destination, but the journey between now and then has to be built on honest character work, not wins and titles. Story. AEW gave us a return power. Now they have to give us a reason to need to see what happens next. Whether they have the patience to do that is the question based on what they have done before. With the same person, I'm not fully convinced. But I am watching, and I hope they prove me wrong. I really hope they prove me wrong. So, to wrap up, Mercedes Mone is back in AEW. She has been gone for 5 months. She lost everything she built. She came back with nothing. That is actually the most compelling version of Mercedes Mone that AEW has had available to them. A fallen queen fighting to reclaim a crown. The question is whether AEW will tell the story properly or whether they will take the shortcuts again. The tournament patch is laid out. The destination is All In London in August. But the destination is not the story. The path between here and there is what matters. AEW has 3 weeks before Forbidden Door to show us who Mercedes Mone is in 2026. Not who she was, not the bell collector, not the undefeated CEO, the woman who got humbled and came back anyway. This is the story we're telling. Whether AEW tells it It's up to them. So, drop your comments. Are you excited about Mercedes Mone back? Or do you feel like we have been here before?